nurses, face the axe. Because Vodafone won't pay their tax. Teachers, nurses, face the axe. Because Vodafone won't pay their tax. Vodafone has been allowed to get away with $6 billion in tax evasion. The government should be going after big tax evaders like Vodafone. Get that $6 billion back. Not cutting pensions for public sector workers. 30,000 workers on strike in Scotland today against cuts to public services and in defence of pensions.
We currently see an ideological conflict. We see the protection of corporations and them being allowed to get away with tax evasion. And we also see people being cut off their benefits, people losing their jobs, people losing their pensions. I don't think that any of us on this street really think that's acceptable. I don't think that's fair. I don't really think that anyone here thinks that's fair. I don't think that the police here really think that's fair. I don't think that the Vodafone employees really think that's fair. And that is why we are here peacefully protesting on the street and wanting to show to you that things can be done differently, that we can hold the corporations that can.
Teachers and nurses, face the axe, because Vodafone won't pay their tax. Teachers and nurses, face the axe, because Vodafone won't pay their tax. Teachers and nurses, face the axe, because Vodafone won't pay their tax. Money for jobs and education. No for greedy corporations. Money for jobs and education. No for greedy corporations. Money for jobs and education. No for greedy corporations. Money for jobs and education. No for greedy corporations. Striking workers show their way. They don't need new bankers pay. Striking workers show their way. They don't need new bankers pay.
Shame on Vodafone, who have refused to pay $6 billion in taxes. Whilst we face the cuts, we face the brunt of this recession caused by the rich. Vodafone get away with not paying £6 billion in taxes.
What is happening internationally, and I think like the IMF is an example of plutocracy, a really kind of corrupt institution that makes these kind of loans that are based on taking up of contracts, and the contracts essentially rip the country dry and mean they have to privatise its water, and that's kind of why people are fighting back in Greece, and I think this is ultimately like something that we've got to be concerned about here.
Teachers, nurses, face the axe, because Vodafone won't pay their tax. Teachers, nurses, face the axe, because Vodafone won't pay their tax. Last year there was mass protests when the workers came out demanding higher wages. They were shot down by the police. These are the kind of connections that we need to make. We understand that the material produced in Britain is coming from the rest of the world. It's not coming from nowhere, it's coming from exploited people across the world. We need to unite that with the attack on living standards taking place in this society, with millions of people being thrown off the sickness benefit processed through Cadogan Street by a private company, Artos Origins. We need to highlight the attack on workers' rights now with the PCS coming out and make clear to Strathclyde Police and to every other institution that thinks they can tell working class people how to live. But we don't accept the cuts. The debt in this country, like Greece and Spain, belongs to the bankers, belongs to the upper classes, belongs to the billion and millionaires, not to the people. This is a message that we're here to send to people today. The fight back begins here, when normal people stand up for their rights and demand a society that they're getting control of, and they hold the power and they hold the wealth that we create. Thank you.
We stand outside Vodafone, one of the biggest tax-dodging corporations in existence. We do so to draw attention to their fraudulent economic activity, and we do so in order to highlight this action and to make the connection between the attacks on living standards, which is now well underway in every part, it's safe to say, in every part of this globe. We stand here today also in solidarity with those in the firing line in Greece, who today have no other option vulnerable people in this city. We're also standing here in order to highlight the abuse of power by Strathclyde police who come here in order to intimidate people like me, people like those holding banners, people who are prepared to speak and articulate a very straightforward message that this criminal conspiracy, which is this government, must be held to account, and that we're not going to be prepared to stand and pay with their lives and health and education in order to resolve the contradictions of a system that has absolutely nothing to do with us. We're standing here in order to say we oppose all of the cuts, and we're prepared to say we refuse to pay for a crisis that has absolutely nothing to do with working class people. It has everything to do with the crisis of capitalism. And we're standing here to oppose the police presence because we actually still have rights in this country. And while we have the right to speak, unlike in other countries, we're going to exercise our right to speak. And to speak the truth is surely a wonderful thing, because every day we hear in the media of the attacks on living standards, the attacks on the poor, the vulnerable, the disabled, the unemployed, but yet we never hear what caused the crisis in the first place. We're here to draw attention, and the fact is organisations like Vodafone and the entire capitalist